My name's Alex Simon. I'm 20.
And how are you working to solve today's problems as a social entrepreneur? What have you done? What is your story?
So basically, I've had opportunities to do a lot of different things, to travel places, meet cool people, learn about problems that other people wouldn't necessarily be exposed to, kind of connect with anyone I was interested in connecting with, and I've benefited a lot from getting these opportunities. I've personally benefited. And I kind of, I wanted, central through all my projects, I do a few different things, is this idea that by connecting people with opportunities or connecting people with other people, kind of unforeseeable things can happen, and they're usually very cool, very positive things. So this obviously can manifest itself a bunch of different ways. One thing I do right now is connect young people, children and young professionals interested in kind of the microfinance world with opportunities. And we're connecting people from 150 different universities around the world in 80 different countries. And we'll do things like bring them to conferences, connect them with top experts in microfinance, either virtually or in person, organize online classes to be taught regarding microfinance, all kind of with the purpose of benefiting the microfinance industry. So the end goal is to help these people realize their potential by connecting them with opportunities. And in doing so, you help less fortunate people who are recipients of microloans, beneficiaries of the whole microfinance system. I think that there are a lot, even though in the United States there are tons of opportunities, right? If you want to get involved in a business or a sport or whatever, there's almost always opportunities available to do different things. I mean, even if you come from kind of a very low-income community, there's always something to do. Like your school, you probably has something. But it's tricky when you kind of can't find a peer community for the things you want to do. And I found that this is a problem in a network that I work with of young people whose parents all run businesses around the world, and they can't.
Called? What is this network?
The network is called the Youth Social Enterprise Network. It's a initiative of a larger network of business leaders called the Young Presidents Organization. And in this network, we basically help children of the business leaders find a peer community of individuals interested in social enterprise and philanthropy stuff. So not just social kind of partying or having fun with people, but actually coming together, finding your community and doing cool things with that community. So that's kind of how my approach to tackling some problems. Just bringing people together has a lot of impact. I don't think I necessarily have the best ideas or anything, but I think other people have really good ideas that haven't been unleashed yet for really just problems of connecting.
And I know you actually got involved in social entrepreneurship actually in high school. How old were you when you got involved, and what inspired you to take action in the first place? Was there a moment that you decided?
I think I traveled a lot at a young age. When I was 10, I traveled around with my family for 9 months in different countries like Nepal and India and Namibia, Botswana, Guatemala. And I think that kind of planted a seed in my mind of, oh, wow, this is the real world. So I definitely was still living in a bubble, being from kind of a suburb in Massachusetts. But there were at least a few holes in the bubble where I could see what the real world was like. But I was young enough, I was 10, that I didn't really do anything with this. I've always kind of had an entrepreneurial bent, catering companies, just random little companies that didn't really have any social benefit. But when I was 14, I did a leadership program in Arizona and Mexico where I kind of was with a community of people who all wanted to do something, that we'd seen problems, drug addiction, issues of trafficking and immigration issues of being on the Arizona-Mexico border, and they wanted to do something. And through this community, I kind of got the inspiration to start taking action based in this kind of awareness that there were problems that I wasn't aware of, that I was aware of, but that a lot of people weren't aware of. So I started getting involved in microfinance. I thought that was a really cool way, kind of combining my entrepreneurial interests and just like a really high impact, sustainable way to help people start businesses. I got involved in high school there, and kind of the kind of spark that propelled me forward on this stuff was I organized a small trip to Guatemala with about 20 or so people, all different families who we knew, to go visit microcredit entrepreneurs. And kind of seeing because previously I hadn't really been with anyone but my siblings and my family when I was in these places, but seeing all these other people who were my friends from Boston connect with the borrowers and the loan officers and all these kind of social entrepreneurs, some of them made me realize, oh wow, like just putting the people in the same room can have a huge impact. Putting diverse communities in the same room can have a huge impact. So I did more trips. I started clubs in high schools. About 15 different high schools had clubs focused on raising awareness and fundraising for microfinance initiatives. And yeah, so I was about 13 or 14.
Cool. How have you had to work across some traditional boundaries to get things done?
Well, I guess there are basically everything that the pre-existing infrastructure for doing this stuff is a traditional boundary. I mean, there are tons of boundaries within it, but basically the system is stacked against anyone who doesn't want to go to school, take classes, get good grades, be in a play some sports, kind of play it around in a token student organization or something. If you want to commit most of your time to doing things, maybe they're cool, maybe they're not validated, maybe they are validated, outside of the traditional system, that's a boundary. So I've had to work really hard, to get the recognition that what we were doing was valuable enough for it to merit its own commitment from people. And two, I've had to kind of work around this boundary of kind of adults do a lot of this stuff, and young people don't. Young people prepare to do it. Maybe they get some advice from adults on what they could do later on, but I mean, I think we're just seeing now the scale tipping a little bit where young people really are leaders in a lot of areas, and they're recognized leaders, and kind of older people can learn from them more than they can teach them. So I guess there's a lot of age barriers, and kind of the system the system is stacked against a lot of people who want to do different but equally or more interesting or things.
Cool. Yeah, and I agree. I think youth have come a long way in terms of being leaders, but they still face many challenges. What are some of the challenges that you see facing youth today?
I think there are a lot of challenges. I mean, basically everywhere there are challenges, because we don't live in a system. We'd have to basically completely flip our current system upside down on its head to embrace some of these young entrepreneurs and young social entrepreneurs' interests, and kind of taking action at a very early age, having the support they need, having the mechanisms in place to support them and give them what otherwise is traditionally only reserved for adults who have proven themselves with time and a degree and whatever. But I think a smaller issue is that communities need to be found. A lot of those light bulb moments for people that I've seen happen when they find a peer community. if you're a social entrepreneur and you go to a social enterprise like Retreat, that's when you kind of really build up your momentum to take action, because you realize you have peers, you have friends, there are other people like you doing this stuff, and it's not just you alone working on things. And I think that's a problem, because I think a lot of people don't have easy enough access to those communities. I had really easy access to them, and that's probably why I've done more than the average person. It's not because I'm necessarily smarter or kind of better in any way at this. It's just because I've had the opportunities. So I think we need to make those opportunities way easier to access. The barrier to entry can't be one in which you have to break away from all convention to be involved in this stuff. We need to kind of encourage young people to take action and be leaders, and at the same time, we need to make sure those young people recognize the accountability that comes into place when they are leaders. Because if I was to go to an average college campus and I was an adult and I was trying to figure out if kids should be as responsible as adults, I mean, in many ways, I'm sure you could say, yeah, they're more responsible, but at the same time, we don't have a system right now that teaches responsibility kind of at a gradual pace. You kind of go to college, you go to high school where your parents will watch out for you, you go to college where the system will watch out for you a lot of the times. Obviously, there are exceptions. Then you drop off, and there's no more system to watch out for you. So I think the structure needs to be in place more to encourage people to take more responsibility, but also prepare them better for those kinds of responsibilities.
Cool. And what advice would you have for a young person who's interested in becoming more involved in the political process, their communities, youth mobilization, social entrepreneurship? What would you tell them?
I would say find somebody who can serve as either a role model or a peer mentor, or somebody who will bring you into this world. Because it can be a huge pain to be working on the outskirts of this kind of social enterprise space. There are different areas and pockets where it's more active. But if you have somebody who's an advocate for you within the system, you're going to feel like you're in a community, you're going to feel like you're doing something that other people appreciate. You're not going to be explaining yourself to everyone you meet. You're going to kind of receive the same kind of encouragement that somebody who's doing really well in school would receive from the school or their parents or something like that. So find somebody who can play that role, and also kind of figure out what your real priorities are. If you get your goals straight, you don't need to have specific goals right at the onset of doing anything, but you need to know why you're interested. If you're interested because it sounds exciting, that's one thing. If you're interested because there's an issue you want to solve, that's another thing. And that's going to reflect kind of on your enthusiasm and your attitude towards being involved in this stuff. So it's tricky. I mean, it's really easy once you start getting involved in these things to kind of ride this wave of energy that exists everywhere, because it's social enterprise, innovation, civic engagement. It's like a big trend. A lot of young people really will feed your enthusiasm and interest for this stuff. But at the same time, you're going to have stumbling blocks, and you need to be prepared to confront those with why you're in it and your goals, so you can kind of figure your way around those.